Today we're going to extend upon some of the skills that we learned in the last couple of training videos and just tack on a couple of other skills that you might need for some of these 2D drawings. And the first thing I'm going to put on the screen is just a couple of circles to demonstrate how we can use the tangent tool or the tangent command in order to lay a line so that it touches the circumference of a circle in just one spot. So this is, very similar to what you would see in your mathematics courses when talking about shape geometry and things like that. So let's grab the line tool here. I can start a line anywhere on the screen, and if I've got in my O-snap menu tangent turned on, it should give me an indication with that icon that I am near a circle and it's able to attach a tangent line. So one other thing you might notice is that I've put a little indicator here to show which mouse buttons I'm using at any given time and whether I'm hitting a specific key, space key or the escape key or things like that, Shift and S. So if you're ever not quite sure what I did in order to accomplish something on these videos, you can always just check over here and run through the same keystrokes and mouse movements that I did. Okay, so the line tool, I can just type L space on that, and I start drawing my line pretty much anywhere I want. Whoops, crashing here. There we go. Try that again. Draw my line. Starting more or less anywhere I want, and you'll notice it's snapping in the normal 15-degree increments. But when I get close to a circle, and I'll zoom in, you see that little icon pop up there? That's the tangent icon, so it doesn't really matter where I go with it. It's going to line up with that tangent once I've snapped it in there. And I also want the tangent to be end at the circle, because you could draw a tangent line that runs past a circle, like that, but most often you're going to want to attach that line at just one point, just the tangent point in the circle. So again, if I start my line tool and then I put a tangent here, okay, you'll notice that it hits the circle at just one point. You can also, if you have the line tool selected, you can start a line that goes tangent to the circle, and then you can continue the line so that it's tangent to the other circle. And that's handy because what happens is after I've drawn the line between the two circles, you notice that the first one is tangent, but the second one isn't tangent. It cuts through the circle. But if you just go grab that line and bring it back a little bit, you should be able to replace it as a tangent. So it might be a little clearer to see if I get rid of these other two lines. But now that line there is tangent to both circles. And if you zoom in, you should be able to see that it is indeed a tangent. There's no point I can get to where it crosses the circle, crosses through the circle, and it definitely does hit the circle. So that's a tangent line there. And I could do, I could do the same thing down at the bottom here. So if you select the line tool and you type in TAN, then you can do it all in one step. If you type in TAN, then you'll notice when I get close to a circle, it says, I think I'm going to be doing a tangent from this circle. So if I just normally start with the line tool without hitting TAN, it doesn't give me that. It just kind of points out the center of the circle. But if you select the line tool, and then this is before you click, you've just got the line tool selected and it says specify the first point. If you type in, tan, tan, now it'll indicate that you're looking for a tangent area to start your line. So you just click anywhere when it's got the icon, and then you go to the other circle, and then you can type tan again, space, and you'll notice now it gives you the tangent option on that circle as well. So even if I click it so it's not, right on the circle, it snaps it to the circle, and it'll be a tangent to both of those. So you could use either of those methods. If you're making tangents to two circles, I do recommend that you do it, quote unquote, the proper way. And that would be the last one I mentioned, like type L, space bar, get your L tool, your line tool selected, type in tan while you're in the line tool, start your tangent line, get it to the rubber band point, type in tan again, space, so that you can tan up that second circle. And you'll know you've done it right if you're creating something like, let's say this is a belt between two wheels. You'll know you've done it right if you go to the trim tool in Modify and you're able to just select like the inside of the circles to get rid of them. That indicates that you have in fact created a tangent to both circles. So there you go. You can see the end result of the trimming. And I'll just Control Z to go back. So we started with that, and that's how I can guarantee that I had good tangents, is that I was able to actually delete this area inside the circle or inside of the object. By getting rid of both of those arcs, it indicates that it did indeed intersect the circle at the top and the bottom, and that's what's used as the cutting point for the trim tool. So that's the tangent tool. It'll come in handy when we run across more objects with sort of circular features. The other thing I wanted to do today was make you aware of the mirror tool, and also show you that you don't necessarily have to have construction lines that are infinite. And sometimes it makes more sense to have shorter construction lines, still in a different layer and line color, but not extending all the way through the page in whatever direction you've picked. So the drawing I'm going to use to help me demonstrate both of those is this one right here. So template number 3. Your assignment is template number 2, but I'll use template number 3 to indicate how the mirror tool works, because if you note on this object, there's several opportunities several opportunities for us to do less work if we know how to mirror properly. For instance, in this middle feature here, I'll go on this side. For this middle feature, this is the same shape and dimensions for the other 3, and then obviously on this object there's 8 in total. If you do one of these shapes correctly, you can use the mirror tool to just automatically copy and rotate it so that you only have to draw one of these, and then you can get the other 3. Additionally, this object is bilateral, which means if I cut it right down the middle, okay, the left side is exactly the same as the right side. So theoretically, if I get the the left side correct with all these measurements, I can just mirror it to the other side and it'll automatically be correct as well. The plus side of that is obviously you save a lot in terms of efficiency. The downside is if you made a mistake on one side, that same mistake is going to result on the other side. So you do need to check your drawings very carefully if you are doing if you're doing any mirror work, because any mistake will be multiplied by the number of times you mirror an object. Okay, I'm just going to create this little inner part here to show you how the mirror tool works, and then I'll maybe mirror it to the other side. I've got lots of indications as far as angles and offset lines and things to help me draw these, so I'm just going to kind of work through them one by one. This is not necessarily considered a circular feature, but because it has a center point, I'm not going to start with an L of construction lines. I'm just going to start with these 2 center lines. So if I flip back to my blank drawing, I've saved it as template 3 already. I'm going to choose con line 2, and I'm going to do a couple of X lines that go right through the center, give or take. Okay, and then we'll work on that one feature. Just move this over just a bit because I know I need 2 of these. Okay, so that's going to be the center point that we're going to use to tackle this shape. So I only want to draw one of these little shapes coming out the middle, but I need some measurements. So from its very peak, the vertical height of this is 25. So I'm going to offset 25, 25, this line, upward, to get me that point. So all that does is get me the height of this. It doesn't tell me anything about where the middle is or what these angles look like. So I've got to look at the additional dimensions that they give me when I'm drawing construction lines to help me get this final shape. So it's told me, fortunately, that this is a 30-degree angle here, this is a 60-degree angle here, which means the total angle is going to be 90 degrees. So I can just use my snaps, the snaps I already have, in order to find those 2 points. So that's not a big deal. So the 30-degree angle is the one down here. The 60-degree angle is the one up here. So they are different. You'll notice this angle down here is a lot narrower than this angle up here. So one's for this line, and then one's basically for the other line that goes to the center. Let's start with the 30-degree line. Now this is an instance where I would recommend using a construction layer, but not necessarily in an X line. If I use a construction layer, and we're just going to do light blue here, and I type in L for the line tool, I can make myself a construction line. It's not the final object line. I can make myself a construction line that goes, basically extends as far as I want, but doesn't go the entire infinity of the angle like an X line would. So I want to get this thing up to 30 degrees. So that is 105, so that would be 30-degree angle, right? Sorry, that's 90. So that would be 15 degrees, which means that's 30. So all I have to do is make sure that I'm past the yellow line, and then I can click. And then I need to do the same thing the other way. So you just get it close, and then it should snap where you want it to go. So, it doesn't matter how tall these lines are, as long as they get past the yellow line. So that's part of what I need to do. The other part, so I drew these two lines heading up this way and this way. Now I need to draw the line from that intersection point to the center on a 60-degree angle. So I already have a center line for this. I just got to make sure that I'm drawing the 60-degree angle properly. And again, your snaps should be set there. So if that's a 0-degree angle and I want to go down 30 to get to my 60-degree, you can see it goes right there. So you see how it's a 30-degree angle? That's a 30-degree angle, but it's measured from vertical. So it's actually started measuring from here. And then, so that would be 30, 45, and then that's 60 right there. That'd be 75, and that would be back to 0. So you got to look at what the measurements actually, or what angle the measurement is actually giving you. Okay, so I want a 60-degree angle, which in this case is 30 down from that line. And it goes to the center. So I can actually just snap it there and then go back out to my other intersection. It should be exactly, see how it says 30 there? So that feature there has been completed. And I used some construction lines and layers, but I didn't use X lines where they would continue infinitely. This is a drawing that is reasonably complicated. So if you draw full construction lines, full X lines for everything, you find that it might get a little bit cluttered and complicated. So I've created one of these features, and now I'm going to mirror it to the other three spots. But first, I'm going to make sure that I have it in my actual object layer. So I'm going to switch back to O, or 0, and then I'm going to just trace intersection to intersection to make sure that I've got an object layer of this. Okay. So that should be good right there. Now I'm going to turn my con layers. I'm just going to hide them for now. So I've got this feature, and I want to copy it 4 times. I want to, on a top, bottom, left, right. So this is accomplished using the line tool. And the line tool works by taking what you've copied or what you've selected, and then selecting a line across which to mirror it. So I'll select this object, and then I'll type in MI for mirror, but it's also on the modify selection. It's the back-to-back triangles. So MI mirror. So it knows what I want to mirror because I already had selected, and it says first point of mirror line. So the first point is what you want it to rotate around. So I want it to rotate around this center, this portion at the bottom, which is the center of that feature. Okay, now you'll notice when I can rubber band it, it snaps to the same increments that a regular line tool would, right? So I've got basically 90 degrees up, and then there's 45 degrees there, and then that's 0 degrees, which is essentially straight up and down. So it's just creating a line, and you can see it's got the mirrored version rotating by the point I selected. Okay, so I want one to go out to the right, so that would be a 45-degree angle. So as soon as I snap it to 45 here, I hit the mouse button, and it's good to go. I can just hit the mouse button again, because I can just mirror the same thing. Select the object again. So I want to mirror that object again. Okay, same thing. I select it, and this is going to be a 45-degree angle down. So 315 is basically a 45-degree angle. And then, whoops, hit escape instead of spacebar. Mirror that again. So I can mirror this out to the left. And then I can do it one more time. Oop. Typed in M. You want to type in MI. MI for mirror. Grab that center point. Oops. Shaky with the mouse this morning. Grabbing too many things. All right, MI mirror. Grab the mirror point. And then because this one's going to go straight down, I want to go, it's going to rotate right there. degrees. Of course, I hit escape again instead of spacebar. All right, come on. Fourth time's a charm. All right, there it is. All right, so I've got my object. Oh, why did it cancel that? Maybe it wasn't me. Mirror. From here, straight down. Spacebar. There we go. Okay, so we've got that feature completed. It looks good, and now I could also mirror it anywhere I want. So I'm not going to create the rest of this object, although it is a very good practice exercise, particularly this portion up here. But what I am going to do is mirror it to the other side, just to show you how you can mirror something that's already been mirrored. So the center of this feature is, she'll tell us somewhere here, 143, or sorry, it's 43 from the center of the entire object, and you can make the assumption, there's no dimensions over here, that it's 43 to this side too. So if I know where the center of this thing is, okay, and I do, I'm just going to turn my con lines back on. So this line right here, if I move that over by offsetting, what did I say, 43. So if I offset 43 this way, and then do the exact same thing and offset this one 43, that gives me the center point of the other one. So this would be the center of the object, the middle one, and the one over here would be the second center. So it would be the center that's over here. So if I mirror this over that imaginary center line by 43, I should get over here, right? So let's just see. I'm going to select, I'm going to lock my con layer, lock my con yellow layer because I don't want to copy those lines. I'll make sure I'm on my object layer. I'm going to grab all of those things that I just mirrored and made, and then I'm going to mirror the whole bunch. And I'm going to mirror them from the center point. Okay, and what is my line? Oops, sorry. I'm going to grab them, mirror. And then this time my mirror line is not the center of the object. I don't want to rotate it. I want to use this as my mirror because I want it on the other side. So you see, as I rotate, you can put this anywhere you want, but because I rotated it based on this middle line, it's going to be exactly 43 away from the original. Okay, so if I use this center line as my mirror line, then as soon as I get it in the right spot, hit space, I've mirrored everything on this side perfectly to this side, and it saved me a whole bunch of work. So I drew one of these features, and then I mirrored it 3 times, saved myself work there, and then I took all 4 features and mirrored it over here. So when you add it all up, that saved me a significant amount of time. Instead of having to draw 8 of these things and place them correctly, I really only had to draw 1 of them and mirror twice, and we were in good shape. So that is a tool that can help you out a lot, but make sure that if you're using the mirror tool, that the object is bilateral, one side matches the other, or at least the feature that you're mirroring or copying is the same as the other. So that's a couple more skills, that and the tangent, that can help you continue to move forward with some of the more complex drawings. And the only other thing I wanted to do was kind of help set you up a bit for the maple leaf drawing. It doesn't look that challenging, but it's very, very difficult to get it 100% perfect unless you pay very close attention to every single dimension and measurement. So to help you set up for this one, I just want to check and make sure that you understand the dimensioning. This number was not very clear on my old copy, so I did it again. It's 140, but you have to take note of where each measurement is going on this particular drawing. The 140 does not go all the way to the bottom of the leaf. It goes down to this bottom corner. So it actually doesn't represent the entire height of the object, just to this point. So you got to be careful about things like that. You will see some dimensions that are written outside of the gap they're measuring. That's just for clarity and to reduce clutter. You may not have all the information you need on one side in order to complete a feature, but there's also dimensions on the other side. So you kind of got to use a combination of both to make sure that all your angles are correct. This drawing is bilateral, which means the easiest way to do it is to make sure that you cut it right down the middle and then try to draw either the left or the right side. And then when you've got that tested and everything measures out perfectly, then you mirror it across the middle to get the other side of the leaf. That's probably the most efficient way of building it. You're going to need a lot of construction lines on this one because they give you a lot of angles, but not a lot of lengths. So for instance, you don't know where this point is in space. You only know where it's going to intersect because you've got a line from the top here to indicate that point vertically, but then you've got to draw a line from there down to that line at 60 degrees in order to find out where exactly this intersection is in space. And it's going to be that way with every single vertex. It's going to give you an angle and then some other reference point so that you can find out where these little intersections are. And it doesn't look all that complicated, but on this one you're going to have a lot of construction lines going out from sort of the main central features of this. And you might want to use regular lines on a construction layer to help you set this up, as opposed to infinite con lines, infinite X lines. It will get cluttered after a while. So I'll show you how I would start this one just to kind of get you going. So I know it's a bilateral image. I'm going to try and do the left side, and then I'm going to copy it to the right side is the way I would approach this. So I'll just save this guy up, and then we'll open a new one. Templates. Okay, I'm going to save that as Maple Leaf. I'm going to save that in single view drawings. All right, I'm not going to change the title block and stuff like that. This is just for illustrative purposes for you. Okay, so I'm going to draw a vertical con line. Unlock my con lines. This one. And I'm going to draw a vertical X line, so XL and XL. And that's going to be the center of the object, so that is going to represent the center of the leaf right here. And then I'm going to start offsetting some con lines and show you how it might get a little cluttered. So I've got this line in the middle. It's not an object line, it's just a measurement line, a dimension line. And I notice the first dimension is 3 horizontally, or, got to offset the vertical line 3 to get to what is this inner point right here. So you notice there's an inner point and then an angle to an outer point. The measurement is 3 to there, and it's 5 out to there. So I'm going to have 2 more construction lines, offset, okay, 3. So this line offset 3 this way, and then I've got another one that's offset 5. So then I've got to go offset 5, grab this line, and then move it over here. So I've got 3 lines very close together right off the bat, and I haven't actually even drawn an object line. Things I might recommend doing are things like maybe alternating your construction lines for important lines. For instance, if this is the center line and I want to differentiate it from the other 2, yes, it's always going to be the furthest right line, but it might be easier if I just go to properties and change that to a different layer. It might help me keep better track of which are lines that I'm going to use for intersections and which is sort of my starting out lines. So I want to go to object properties. I always forget where that thing is. Explode. Where's my properties? Oh, that's because it's not on the main. It's up here. All right, so I'm currently on con layer 2, and I'm thinking maybe I want to switch that one to con 4. And that might help me remember that blue line is actually the dead center of the object. Go back to my layers, and let's see what I've accomplished. Not much. I've got a guideline here, a guideline there, a guideline there. Let's just keep offsetting horizontally as I can. So I know that there's a line, or there's a point 43 over from the center that takes care of that. And I also know there's another one here, another 33. So I need to offset the center line 43, and then I've got to offset whatever that line is, another 33. So I'm going to offset, space 43, space, and then it's going to be this guy that way. So did I do 34? I think I did 34. Try that again. Offset, space, 43. This line that way, 43, and then I wanted to offset that another 33, so offset again, 33, so offset space 33, that way. Okay, so that gives me a couple of more reference points. I've got a line going through that and a line going through there. See, this is you get a lot of construction lines, but you only get, for most of these points, either a horizontal measurement or a vertical measurement. You don't get both, so it's very tough to tell where that point is in space right now. We just know it's somewhere along a vertical line that goes through that point. We don't know exactly where that is yet. So you sort of got to build things one piece at a time with the information that you have. I have a vertical line that is 10 up from the very bottom of the object, and that actually is going to give me that point in space. So if I start from my bottom line and move up 10, that might help me actually draw a couple object lines here. Now, I don't have any horizontal lines right now, so I'm going to just draw one in my con layer. In fact, if I draw it in blue, it might make more sense. XL, and I'm going to draw it right here. Doesn't matter where I start the first one, right? The first one can be anywhere. Now, the important thing is that if I treat this as the bottom of the leaf and I'm moving upward, I have to remember that this one's the bottom. So offset, and then it was 10 from the bottom up. Now I have a point in space that I can use to start drawing some actual object lines. If I flip back here, I drew a vertical line, or sorry, a horizontal line that is 10 from the bottom of the object. So the very first line I drew was the bottom, and then I offset it 10 up, which means now I have this point in space because I have the 43 line, and I also have the 10 line. So I have a vertical line and a horizontal line, which gives me this point. How do I draw this line? Well, I know this line intersects, goes from that 10, and intersects with a point here. And that's going to be a vertical line because we offset that line 3. What I need to know additionally is what is the angle of that line? And the angle of that line is on the other side. You see that it's 15 degrees from horizontal. So I need to start at this point and draw a 15-degree line that intersects with the vertical line at 3 units. So that is a line that is starting here and somewhere intersects this middle line, the yellow one here that's in the middle. And that's going to give me my first actual object line. And maybe I'll just draw this in red just to demonstrate that until we make that intersection, we don't actually know where on this yellow line it's going to hit. So we need to use the information that we have. We know that it starts at this point, and we know that it goes this way somehow, but we have to use our snaps and our lines to tell us where exactly does this line going to end up on this yellow line. So let's just go back and double check again. It is going to be 15 degrees up from vertical to wherever, up from horizontal to wherever it hits that line. So I just got to make sure it's a 15-degree angle this way, which you can see it is. If you look at my snap number there, 15 degrees. I drew it past the green line, and I often do things like this. I'll draw it in a construction layer, just so I can check some other things if I check some other things about the drawing before I actually draw on the object lines. So I'm very confident that I have the line that goes from here to there. I can also draw one more line. Now that I have this point here, I can draw a line that goes down to that 5 as long as I have some reason, that I know that this line is going to be here. And what I have is both a horizontal line as well as a vertical line to indicate what that is. So if I should be able to go from here down to there because I have both of those points already. So let's just have a look and see. Now I don't know what the angle is from here down, but I do know that this line at the very bottom is the ground, right? So that's the ground right here. The question is, where on the ground do I put that point? Well, I put that point right here, which is the intersection of my very bottom line horizontally and the line that runs vertically at 5 units. So I started at the 3 line. I know it goes down to the bottom of the object, which is right here. And I know that it hits that number 5 line. So you notice the angle on this is 95.51. That's okay. We're using length measurements for this one to make sure that it's correct. So because it starts at that point, as long as that point is correct, it has to intersect with these two lines. And we know that this red line is correct because we measured it and it was 15 degrees. We were sure about this point, and we were sure about the 15 degrees, and it intersects right there. So that's one of the reasons that it's really important that you read your dimensions carefully and that you utilize all of the information that you have to sort of assemble your projects one point at a time, one line at a time. And sometimes you'll start at the bottom and you'll work your way up, and then you'll start, you'll run into a point that you don't know, so you go back up to the top of the object and you start building and building. And once you sooner or later you meet in the middle, right? So if you can only draw maybe the first third of this object starting from the bottom, and then you run out of information, that's fine. Go up to the top. Chances are you'll find enough information that when you get down to the same spot, you'll have everything you need to connect all the lines. So you don't necessarily have to build this thing strictly from the ground up to the ceiling or from the ceiling down to the ground all in one sequence. You can kind of chip away at it, and you'll find that sooner or later you've used the information there to get enough points to connect all the dots. So if I were to connect the dots on what I have right now, I'm going to go to the object line, and I'm going to highlight everything that I'm sure of. Okay, so what I'm sure of is this is the center of the object. Okay, that's the bottom of the leaf on the right. This goes up to there, and then this goes down to this intersection here. So I've drawn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 construction lines. I've only drawn a couple of object lines, but I'm reasonably comfortable that they are correct. So if I turn off my con lines, okay, this is what I've got so far, and that would represent this portion of the object. And from there, you just keep trying to find points. So for instance, this point right here, there is an offset vertically of 13, okay? And then do I know what angle this is? It doesn't tell me here, but if I look over here, it says that's 75. So I do have an angle for this line, and I do have one length measurement. In this case, it's a height. Okay, so that should get me a little further. So if I turn my con lines back on, okay, so I need to take this line, I believe, and move it up 13, right? So I'm going to offset 13, and it's this line upward. So I have that reference point, and then I know that this line here needs to go up 75 degrees. So wherever a 75-degree line from there hits that line I just offset, that's where this point is. So let's do it. I'll just grab my red con again. I'm just going to use the line tool. I'm not going to use an X line. So line tool, and we are going from here up at a 75-degree angle to wherever it hits that line, which is right there. And I could have made it go further. Usually I do. Usually I continue my shorter construction lines past the line so I don't accidentally snap it to something I don't want to snap it to. So I would get the 75 degrees, and then I would extend it a little past where I need it just to make sure that I got that angle right, and I can always find that point right there just using the regular snap. So I draw my line tool. I'm on the object layer again, start there, and now I've got one more line in my drawing. So I'll turn my con lines off again. Now you see I've got this line too, which represents this line here, and now I need to find out where that point is, and I know where that point is. It's 33 over from this line, or 76 from the center, okay, 76 from the center, and then it's a 30-degree angle, you can tell on this side, so I can get to that point. All right, so this is the last one I'll do, and then it's on you. Okay, so I need this point in space, and I also needed this line right here. That was the line that was 76 from the center. So I need to draw a 30-degree line from here to wherever it intersects there. So let's do that from here. And it was a 30 degree, so that's 180. If I go back 30, that should be 150, right? That's 165. There's 150 right there. So I just want to make sure I'm past the blue line. Okay. Now I can make that an object line. I know it needs to start here. And I know it needs to end where it intersects there. Okay, so now I've got one more line. Turn off my cons again. So now I'm up to there, and I've drawn this little chunk as well. So you just got to kind of keep piecing it together. And there's always enough information to complete the drawing, but you might have to look at both sides of the object. You might sometimes have to, kind of complete a bit of it and then go to another side or another feature and complete a bit more, and eventually you'll end up getting all the lines. But it's very important that you organize your drawings well, that you use construction lines appropriately, and that, every once in a while it helps kind of color code things a little bit so that you're sure of what line's what. For instance, if I was continuing to color, take care of my organization, I might take these two and change them to con layer, whatever the yellow one is, 2. Con layer 2, just to keep it so that maybe I change these ones to con layer 3. Okay. Just to help color coordinate, so I know that the intersection of blue and blue is the very bottom center of the leaf, right? This point right here. And I know that blue lines are sort of the starting point. I use yellow lines for offsetting horizontal or vertical lines, and I've used green lines for offsetting the vertical lines. Just using a little color, matching like that, or separating types of lines out by color can help you from getting too confused. If all of these lines were the same color, it tends to get a little bit cluttered, and you might accidentally find the wrong point or use the wrong line or something like that. So keeping things organized and color coordinated with your layers will help you a lot with these more complex drawings.